Good Friday evening and welcome to the NCWLIFE Evening News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to tonight's top stories, let's head outside and take a look outside our beautiful Friday weather window. Lots of blue sky out there today all across north central Washington. And temperatures a little warmer than yesterday, but still below normal and very comfortable out there today. There were some thunderstorms up north in some locations, but most of us did see this blue sky today. And as we get through the weekend, actually, it's all going to start on Sunday, our next heat wave. We're going to see high Sundays in the upper 90s. And then next week, especially Monday and Tuesday, an excessive heat watch in place where we could see temperatures between 100 and 105 degrees. And we'll have more weather for you coming up a little bit later on. And now a few of the news stories we're following for you tonight. Residents of Lind were able to return home yet last night after the entire town was evacuated by a wildfire that burned 6 homes. Wildland fire activity was mild throughout the month of July, but boy, in this first week of August, new fires have bloomed near Ellensburg, Cheney, Vantage, Lind, and elsewhere in eastern Washington. And Republican Matt Larkin will face off against incumbent Democratic Representative Kim Schrier in the November general election for the 8th Congressional District seat. But first, our top story tonight, a trailer holding 45,000 pounds of apples became detached from a semi last night and rolled on Blewett Pass. The Washington State Patrol said about 7 p.m., the southbound semi on Highway 97 lost control when the rear tires on the trailer somehow disconnected, sending both the rear wheel attachment and trailer off the roadway to the right. The semi crossed the northbound lane and went off the left side of the road at milepost 151. Trooper Jeremy Weber said nobody was injured and there were minor traffic disruptions while that trailer was towed. He said the accident is under investigation as a likely equipment failure. Residents of Lind were able to return home last night after the entire town was evacuated by a wildfire that burned 6 homes, 8 additional structures, and about 2,500 acres. The fire was first reported about 11:45 a.m. and quickly burned into the south side of town. Shortly after most of the level 3 evacuation notices were lifted, the Adams County Sheriff's Office offered an inside glimpse of the interaction between fire responders from throughout the state who saved the town and the grateful community of about 500 residents.
This is a little restaurant called Hosie's in Lind, and they have opened their doors to these firefighters. People have brought in snacks. They brought in food for all these firefighters that are here assisting our community. This is how communities come together. These firefighters were out here working in the heat, doing their thing, trying to stay hydrated. Can't say enough how grateful we are for their assistance and all these people that are volunteering to help. They're here from Grant County, they're here from Lincoln County, they're here from all over the place to help us with these fires. It's very hot outside and these guys have been working it very hard. This is the south side of Lind over that way. It goes all the way over that hill, all the way on the south side of town. But this small community of Lind is coming together. The stores and the eateries have opened their doors to allow us to help these firefighters help us. And it's been a sad experience, but then again, it's an amazing experience to see everybody come together.
Well, speaking of wildfires, wildland fire activity was mild throughout the month of July, but in this first week of August, new fires have bloomed near Ellensburg, Cheney, Vantage, as we just talked about, Lind, and elsewhere in eastern Washington. The State Department of Natural Resources is the lead air attack agency when the fires erupt on public lands. DNR officials said yesterday the 2022 fire season is finally upon us.
We are fortunate DNR has been very well equipped to be able to deploy resources at each of these fires. We had significant amount of air resources on a number of them, and we know that our skilled firefighters have been working hard, many through the night. As we move now into the weekend, we're already seeing significant progress on these fires, and we're hopeful that we'll continue to see improvements.
So for several weeks, We've been briefing on expecting a rapid transition in this fire season. So while that early wet spring did give us a delayed start to fire season, it also promoted a lot of growth of fine fuels, especially out in the Columbia Basin. With our most recent heat dome, those fuels have come online with a vengeance. So we're seeing very active fire behavior, very rapid fire growth when we do get the wind events in eastern Washington.
Republican Matt Larkin will face off against incumbent Democratic Representative Kim Schrier in the November general election for the 8th Congressional District seat. The contest is seen by both national parties as one of the battleground races as Republicans try to regain control of the U.S. House. Schrier easily advanced in Tuesday's primary election with 47.6% of the vote, while Larkin had to wait for additional vote counts before fellow Republican Reagan Dunn conceded yesterday. After election night tallies, Larkin led Dunn for second place by fewer than 100 votes, but subsequent counts have grown that lead to more than 4,000 votes. It's likely to be one of the biggest spending races in the country. Schrier's campaign went into the primary with more than $6 million, while Larkin raised less than $1 million. But on Thursday, the Congressional Leadership Fund Super PAC said it was committing $3.9 million to defeat Schrier. That's just one of many PACs from both sides likely to pump money into the 8th district. Well, when we come back, year over year, unemployment rates in the Wenatchee area have declined for the past 15 consecutive months. The city of Wenatchee is lowering sewer rates for those who are on the municipal system but live outside the city limits. Flights on World War II aircraft planned for this weekend at Pangbourne Memorial Airport will not be happening. And hundreds of endangered northern leopard frogs will soon leap back into the wild at the Columbia National Wildlife Refuge in Grant County. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News.
I'm John Divis from Wenatchee Dental Arts, and I like to think myself as a comprehensive dentist. We are an office that treats people comprehensively for their dental problems. We do a lot of general dentistry in a broad sense. We don't send everything out. Things that we have the ability to do in the office, we like to keep in the office and under one roof and keep things as complication-free as possible. You can come to one place and have all their dental needs taken care of.
At Click-It RV, we're overstocked on inventory and need to make room for brand new models on our lot. Between our 4 locations in Spokane, Tri-Cities, Moses Lake, and Milton Freewater, we have hundreds of travel trailers, fifth wheels, and RVs that have to go. With low payments, 0 down, and no payments for 90 days, you'll want to hurry in today while the best floor plans are still available. Come check out the Overstock Liquidation Sale, going on now at Click-It RV.
Welcome back. In another news, year over year, unemployment rates in the Wenatchee area have declined for the past 15 consecutive months from April of 2021 through June of 2022. The State Employment Security Department reports that the local unemployment rate of 4.3% was 0.7 of a percentage point lower than the 5% reading last June. The number of unemployed residents declined dramatically from 3,527 in June of 2021 to 2,947 in June of this year, a 16.4% decrease. Total non-farm employment in the Wenatchee MSA increased by 3.2%. That's up 1,500 jobs between the Junes of 2021 and 2022 as employment rose from 47,100 jobs to 48,600. Well, the city of Wenatchee is lowering sewer rates for those who are on the municipal system but live outside the city limits. For 70 years, those users have paid 50% more than those living inside Wenatchee. City council members voted last week to change the same rates to all sewer utility customers. Finance Director Brad Posenjik said the change originated from a contract with the Chelan County PUD.
And the city entered into an agreement with Chelan County for different development that was happening north of the Wenatchee River. And part of this agreement included language that the city would not charge customers in that area the 150% rate, that we would charge them the same rate that we charge the inside city limit customers. So we agreed to that, and we've been operating that way for a few years. At a finance committee maybe a couple months ago, this conversation bubbled up, and the realization that we had some customers who are outside the city limits that are paying the 150% still, and other ones that are not. And we just felt that it was in the interest of the city to provide equity between all of our customers, so that all our customers are paying, at least in the same class, that they're paying the same rates.
Flights on World War II aircraft planned for this weekend at Pangbourne Memorial Airport will not be happening. The Flying Legends of Victory tour said yesterday that all flights and tours have been canceled after the B-17 Flying Fortress Sentimental Journey had an issue that required them to fly it back to their base in Arizona. That follows the cancellation earlier this week, of a visit by the B-25 Made in the Shade bomber. Well, hundreds of endangered northern leopard frogs will soon leap back into the wild at the Columbia National Wildlife Refuge in Grant County. The rare frogs only have one known wild population in Washington at Potholes Reservoir and associated lakes around that refuge. The young frogs were fostered from eggs collected by the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife earlier this spring. Before their release, researchers from Washington State University plan to fit a few dozen frogs with small radio transmitters to track their movement and monitor their survival. The release is scheduled for later this month. You're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News. Coming up next, tonight's features story and your complete local weather forecast. That and much more still to come on the NCWLIFE Evening News. Please stay with us.
I'm John Volan, and I'm running for judge here in Chelan County. For more than 20 years, I've upheld the rights of the local community as an attorney, trial lawyer, and part-time judge. This fall, I'm running for district court judge. I'm highly endorsed by the legal and local communities for my thorough, fair-minded, and just approach. I'm the only candidate with civil, criminal experience, but experience as a judge as well. This fall, vote John Volan for Chelan County District Court Judge.
We got things coming our way that we've never faced before. Under the current conditions, the storm's going to continue to get stronger and stronger. Now's not the time to take a step back. Now's not the time to be soft. Now's the time to drive us in the right direction to protect our communities. The team that surrounds myself is the team to take you into the future.
Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Evening News. In tonight's features story, while Washington is still coping with the COVID-19 pandemic, public health agencies now must deal with the national outbreak of monkeypox, also called MPV. So far, the state has ordered and distributed more than 14,000 doses of MPV vaccine, with 2 successive orders scheduled for later this month. Officials with the Washington Department of Health said yesterday that transmission of the disease is rising and those at highest risk of infection will receive vaccines first.
The Washington State Department of Health is working aggressively to obtain and provide as much of our limited vaccine allocation as possible to help control the MPV outbreak. The Gianos vaccine remains in limited supply, and we're expecting more doses soon. This vaccine is FDA licensed to be given in 2 doses 28 days apart. We have already ordered and distributed over 6,800 doses of vaccine. This is over 95% of our first 2 rounds of our federal allocation. We've also been allocated more than 17,000 additional doses of vaccine. That vaccine is going to be broken into 3 waves over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And our order for the first allotment of that additional 17,000 doses is in process, the order is. We're working to finalize the systems and reports to be able to share out data on how many doses have been administered and given, as reported to the state's immunization information system. Right now, we are adopting a first dose prioritization strategy to ensure we can deliver vaccines to as many people in high-risk populations as possible.
So MPV is a virus that's not normally found in the United States, and the illness may begin with flu-like symptoms. A few days later, the person may develop an unusual rash, which is sometimes painful. The rash starts off as little red bumps that can then become fluid-filled and eventually turn into scabs that then fall off. So anyone who has close physical contact with a person with an infectious rash can get MPV. And this includes direct contact with the skin or bodily fluids of an infected person, or touching bedding or clothing used by someone with MPV. During the initial flu-like illness, MPV can also be spread through respiratory droplets through prolonged face-to-face contact, but it's really most commonly spread through direct skin-to-skin contact.
Hope your Friday was a good one. Let's take a look at your weather forecast as we head into the upcoming weekend. Nice day today. Unofficially 82 degrees, 7 degrees below where we should be at 89. Our record 102, that was set in 1997. This morning, didn't that feel good? 54 degrees, 63 is normal, and 45, our record low set in 1969. 5:44 sunrise this morning, and the sun sets tonight at 8:28. Let's get you right into your Saturday forecast now. Temperatures on the way up, and you'll start to feel that tomorrow. 90 for Moses Lake, Ephrata, and Quincy. Wenatchee, we will be one of the warmer spots at 91. Omak at 92. And a nice day to be up in the elevations tomorrow. Leavenworth 89 and Lake Wenatchee tomorrow at 83 degrees. It's going to warm up, folks, and we'll get to that in a second. Tonight, widespread haze. It's not so much from the fires that are to our south. It's from fires in British Columbia. Notice our northwesterly wind, and that could bring some of that haze in overnight. Temperatures overnight tonight in the lower 60s. We're going to see some more of that smoky air tomorrow morning, and then I think the sun will come out in the afternoon, and that'll warm us up into the low 90s. And then the heat wave is on as we get into Sunday. Sunny skies with high temperatures in the upper 90s. And how about 100 to 105 with sunshine on Monday all over the western U.S. It's going to be a hot one with high pressure still anchored off the Pacific coast. For Tuesday, our hottest day, mostly sunny, highs near 105 degrees, but we could actually see some thunderstorm activity. You can see a little bit of it up by Omak, and we could catch a little bit of that as well. Then low pressure moves down, high pressure slides in, and that'll kick our winds up a little bit for Wednesday. We'll call it breezy and hot with highs still in the upper 90s for Wednesday. And then by the end of our forecast, mostly sunny skies, slightly cooler, but still awfully warm out there with high temperatures in the mid 90s. 7-day forecast, 60 tonight, 91 tomorrow. Remember, a little bit of haze in the morning, and then just sunny and hot with possibly a thunderstorm Tuesday, 99 Wednesday, and 94 your high temperature on Thursday. And that's a look at your local weather forecast. Coming up next, tonight's sports report with Eric Granstrom and more as the NCWLIFE Evening News continues right after this.
Introducing Alpine Airman. Because every home needs a superhero to eliminate poor indoor air quality, send inefficient operating equipment packing, and cut high energy bills down to size. For heating or cooling and equipment replacement, turn to the experts and the superheroes at Carrier and Alpine Air. We offer the best deals on high-efficiency Carrier products, along with friendly, knowledgeable service and incredible savings to fit your budget.
And now it's a sports update on the NCWLIFE channel.
And a happy finally Friday. It's been 40 days since the brawl.
Left fielder Jesse Winker will lead things off, swinging a hot bat. 9 for 18. Here's the pitch, and it's inside, and that hits Winker. And Andrew Wantz hits him, and Wantz has to go, and so does Phil Nevin. Winker walking slowly out in front of home plate, and now he's getting chirped at by the Angel players. Winker going over toward the dugout, and both benches are emptying. Winker going to the Angels dugout. He is right in there. They're starting to throw punches. Holy smokes, we got a full melee going on in the on-deck circle. Everybody throwing punches. Angels out there, Mariners out there. And that was inside. It hit Winker. Winker had a few words with Stassi, walked over to the dugout, and now the umpires have their hands full trying to separate guys. Holy smokes, we have a melee in the on-deck circle. Guys are still fighting one another. They're still going at it. They're trying to separate players in the middle of the scrum, but this is one of the worst fights we have seen in a long, long time. Tensions were heated right away at the very start of the ball game, with Wantz throwing high and in behind Julio Rodriguez. No doubt about the intent on that one, and now Winker is hit by Wantz here in the top half of the second. Holy smokes.
Oh, this is terrible. This is terrible.
This is one of the worst I've seen, Aaron, in a long time.
Crawford throwing full punches. Winker throwing full punches. Obviously,
and it's going again.
again.
And it's going again.
And Service is right there in it.
And now that whole mad circle has moved out toward the third base line. We got Taylor Trammell holding back one Angel near the dugout, while there's about 50 guys in a circle in the line between third and home plate. We've got a couple of guys on the ground being held back, and more guys are still trying to get at one another. This is one of the worst I've seen in a long, long time.
I cannot believe that the umpires did not throw Wantz out of the ball game when he threw behind Julio.
Yeah, Seattle lost the game 2-1 that day and dropped to 6 games under 500, fourth in the American League West. They lost Jesse Winker for 6 games, J.P. Crawford for 2 games, and Julio Rodriguez for a game due to suspensions from the brawl. What has happened in the last 40 days? Well, the Mariners are 23-9, while the Angels are 9-21. Seattle's moved into the second wildcard spot in the American League. Julio became an all-star. JP's in line for another Gold Glove, and Jesse Winker is now a folk hero. The two teams meet for the first time in 40 days tonight at T-Mobile Park. 7:10 game time. Robbie Ray on the mound to face Patrick Sandoval. You can watch the action on Root Sports Northwest. Well, checking the American League West scoreboard from last night, Los Angeles comes to town after an 8-7 loss to Oakland despite 2 home runs from Shohei Ohtani. Houston blanked Cleveland 6-0 as Justin Verlander and 3 relievers combined on a 3-hit shutout. Verlander's now 15-3 on the season. Leody Taveras was 2 for 3 with a run and an RBI in Texas's 3-2 win over the White Sox. Tampa Bay gained a little ground on Seattle in the American League wildcard chase. Rays beat Detroit 6-2 to move within a half game of the Mariners for that second spot. Toronto remains in the top spot by 3 games after a 9-3 win over Minnesota. Boston dropped to 4 games out with a 7-3 loss to Kansas City. Well, the Wenatchee's late comeback bid fell short in Yakima last night. The Apple Sox fell to the Pippins by a final 5-4. Yakima Valley broke open a scoreless tie in the 5th with 2 runs and then added another 3 in the 6th. Radio voice of the Apple Sox, Joel Norman, tells us more about the action at Yakima County Stadium last night.
The Wenatchee Apple Sox fell to the Yakima Valley Pippins by a 5-4 score on Thursday night in the rubber match at Yakima County Stadium. The Apple Sox scored all 4 of their runs in the top of the 8th inning and even put the game-tying run potentially at second base in the 9th with 1 out, but a double play ball ended the ball game. Wenatchee hit into 3 double plays on Thursday night and did not get on the board, as I mentioned, until the 8th. They committed 3 errors, but also were able to cash in thanks to 3 Pippins errors as well. Jack Moffitt struck out 5 in 5 solid innings. He did allow 3 runs, but all of them were unearned. In the final 3 innings on the mound, Will Jacobson did allow a couple of runs in his first inning of work, but buckled down after that to strike out a season-best 5 over those 3 innings. Wenatchee remains tied for first in the North Division with the Edmonton Riverhawks after Edmonton rallied to win on Thursday night. The Apple Sox hold the tiebreaker over them and pretty much need at least 1 or 2 wins this weekend to officially clinch a spot. I believe with 1 win, they will be in to the postseason. With your Apple Sox update, I'm Joel Norman.
Wenatchee returns home with the playoffs fully in line tonight against Walla Walla. First pitch at 6:35. We'll have it live here on the NCW Life channel. I'll be starting things off at 6:30. Well, Edmonton, as Joel mentioned, moved into a first-place tie with Wenatchee after rallying to score 5 runs in the top of the 9th to beat Port Angeles 6-3 last night. Bellingham played at 4 runs in the 3rd and 3 more in the 6th to beat Victoria 8-3. Colin Blanchard led the way for the Bells with 2 hits and 2 runs. Zach Beatty's 2-run home run in the bottom of the 7th gave Kamloops a 5-3 win over Kelowna. Keith Jones, the second, hit a 3-run single in a 5-run 5th inning for Portland to beat the Pickles, make that lead the Pickles past Cowlitz 13-8. Ben's Christian Cooney broke open a scoreless tie in the 8th inning with a 2-run triple that led the Elks over Corvallis 3-0. Well, according to the scoreboard and the scorecard, Walla Walla's Leo Rivera moved around and played all 9 positions during the sweet 7-2 win over Ridgefield last night. He was also 1 for 4 at the plate with an RBI. The West Coast League's North Division's second half standings have Wenatchee and Edmonton tied at 13-11 heading into the final weekend of play. Victoria is a half game back at 13-12. Wenatchee opens its series with Walla Walla to conclude the regular season tonight. In other action, Edmonton is on the road to Victoria. Bellingham's hosting Kamloops. Corvallis at Ridgefield. Bend takes on Cowlitz. Yakima Valley visits Kelowna. Nanaimo hosts Port Angeles, and Springfield plays at Portland. Should Bellingham catch everyone this weekend and win the second half title, it all comes down to the overall records to determine the other 3 playoff spots in the North. That would put Kamloops, Wenatchee, and Edmonton into the postseason if it ended right now. Corvallis won the first half of the WCL South Division title, so they're in. Portland and Yakima Valley are the only 2 that have a chance to catch the Knights for the second half title, so there's a lot to be decided over the next 3 days. Well, if you'd like to take in some racing and help out a good cause, Wenatchee Valley Super Oval, the place to be coming up tomorrow night. It's Les Schwab night at the races, and the gang with Les Schwab will be taking donations for the NCW Community Toy Drive. Over 2,800 children were provided toys in North Central Washington last year, thanks to the toy drive, so here's your chance to help. Also, racing will feature the Rockstar Energy B-Mods, the Plum Perfect Roadrunners, Vintage Modifieds, and AMCW Dwarf Cars. Gates open tomorrow at 4:30. The racing starts at 6 o'clock. Also, Seahawks versus Seahawks tomorrow in Seattle. After 2 weeks of training camp, Seahawks will play a mock game at 2:30 at Lumen Field. Seattle's a week away from its first preseason game at Pittsburgh. A lot to be learned in the battle between Geno Smith and Drew Lock for the starting quarterback position in the next 8 days. That's a look at sports news. Grant, back to you.
Thank you very much, Eric, and I'll take the Seahawks in that game. And that'll do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around North Central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for being with us, and have a great weekend.
The 1-2 pitch swung on and hit in the air. That's a base hit. Going to score 1 and lead.
Wenatchee Apple Sox baseball is on the NCW Life channel. Join us for live play-by-play coverage as the Apple Sox take on the Walla Walla Sweets Friday, August 5th. Pre-game at 6:30, first pitch at 6:35. It's the Sweets and Apple Sox as we celebrate summer one inning at a time, live on your local TV station, the NCWLIFE channel.
McPhillips